What's up, everybody? It's Obscure Reference. Just got back from a weekend of shenanigans, not including the least of which is we all went to go see Madam Web, the new Marvel-ish movie that came out. Um,
The
man, oh
Spiderless
me, oh
Spider-Man.
my. Spiderless Spider-Man, yeah. So I can't get into my review of it without just like diving headfirst into a rant that's going to contain spoilers. So why don't you guys just give a rough introduction, your synopsis of the plot, and all that fun stuff?
All right.
I
Go
mean,
ahead.
this plot is all over the place.
The plot
I
is
don't.
Pepsi.
I'm not sure that you can even follow it some of the time.
Nope. I sure couldn't.
I I mean, this is just not a good movie. I don't think there's a single person that is doing a review that thinks it's good. I think that it's a little over exaggerated. Like it's not the worst movie ever made. It has some things that it does well, but most of the things are pretty poor. It's got bad characters. The dynamics between them is bad. The acting, generally speaking, is not great. Story is everywhere, um, and the villain is really something not good. Uh, his
Mm,
voiceover work really could use some work. I don't know who did the mixing on that, but it never sounded like it was actually happening in real life.
Yeah.
So a lot of not good things. I think the two things that it does decently well is um the woman who shot it, I believe her name is, or who directed it, I believe her name is S.J. Clarkson. Um,
Hmm.
it looks like someone who knows what they're doing directorially. Anyway, there are some decent shots that are set up well. It's lit well. They're like the action can be fun. Um, and some of the storytelling elements, like the Chekhov's gun aspects of some of it, like the things actually come back around and matter to some degree. Um, and so her portion of it is decent, but it's just about the only thing in this movie that's redeeming on any level.
So I'm probably a little lower on it than Austin, but it does come with a big asterisk. Austin was mentioning, this is a bad movie. There's not a whole lot that's redeemable about it, but that's also what everyone else is saying. And a comment that I saw float across my Twitter timeline was Chris Stuckman, who's a pretty well-known movie reviewer slash indie director, who knows exactly how hard it is to make a movie. You know, not to say how hard it is to make one in a studio setting like with Sony in this movie. There's so many hands in this pot. It's so hard to
For
tell
sure.
what vision was whoever's vision this was. So it's like almost inevitable that this movie came out as bad as it did. And I'm not trying to poo-poo the hard work of anyone that did work on this, or try and be toxic and spread negativity everywhere. But this movie's not great. That being said, this movie's not great. I did have a really fun time with it though, but probably not the way they wanted me to. Um, yeah, like Austin touched on, the ADR for Ezekiel was not good, but it was also not good for Dakota Johnson either.
Anyone. Yeah.
Yeah, it really was not good. The writing was bad. I don't feel bad saying that because they also wrote Morbius, and that movie's just boring
It's
as
it's
hell.
not subtle at all. Everything is
Not.
first of all, did you see I saw a photo of the credits for the guy who wrote this movie, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like Gods of Egypt,
Gods of Egypt,
Dracula Untold,
Untold.
Morbius, this movie, like just
Mm-hmm.
all flops, just like across the board bad
They
movies.
also wrote the Power Rangers movie from a few years
Yeah.
ago. I'm like, oh, people kind of like that one. That's odd. They did a good one. Okay. Um,
S-
but yeah, no, it's the plot's all over the place. I want to give a shout out. They did get Julia's powers right, even though we only saw her use it for like 2 seconds.
it's just
But
not
I
fun
was
to
like,
watch, but
no, and gosh, the line delivery for like every other line from Dakota Johnson was just like, "Are you here? You don't want to be here, do you?" So, yeah,
I
no,
you
not a
want
good time.
so the
No, it
two
wasn't.
things I thought were really funny, like that I got over the course of watching this movie, is one, the CGI looks like it's from a movie of the 2000s in which this is set, not a
Mm.
2024 movie, which I thought was hilarious. And this movie is basically the issue that Amazing Spider-Man has, but slightly different in that Amazing Spider-Man tried to do too much in terms of too many characters. And this movie tried to do too much, as in it wanted to do every sci-fi trope there is all in one movie. It wanted
Yeah.
teleportation, it wanted time travel, it wanted premonition, it wanted literally all of it, super magic serums. It wanted everything in one movie, and it couldn't handle it all.
Yeah. Yep. I will say too, this did have the vibes of like a mid 2000s, early 2000s
It
superhero
so
movie.
did. It so did. I
It
They
just-
did capture that. I'll give them full credit there.
But like not yeah, and it felt about as good as like the worst ones. So like no, I'll say forever that this is a bad movie, but at least had fun watching it. And I don't
Yeah.
know if I can say that about other bad movies like Catwoman or
I
Daredevil,
cringed
you
a
know?
lot watching this movie. I don't know that
Oh,
I
I did
enjoyed
too.
it.
Don't get me wrong, but Catwoman is just so head
Okay.
and shoulders worse than this.
So the first part of this movie, like, I didn't love any part of this movie. Obviously, there's not a lot to love here. But the first part of this movie I actively hated is when her powers are being awakened and she keeps like flashing back to 10 seconds in the past.
was
and she's
so
like,
annoying.
"Wait, I've been here before." No, I've got sensory issues, okay?
Yeah,
the
it was
noises,
awful.
the lights, they were just
Mhm.
like, let's pick the worst noise and keep snapping back
big
to
time.
that and just
It
have it
was so bad.
screech and just have a lot of flashing lights everywhere that just hurt to look at. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just in pain watching this movie. So,
Yeah.
like, actual content of the movie aside, fuck those scenes in particular. Seriously.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
And then like
No.
halfway through the movie, their powers just change, and it's like
Yeah,
all of a
and it
sudden
just
she's
doesn't do
having
that anymore.
visions and like it's full thoughts and all of that. I'm like, what? Her powers expanded out of nowhere.
Okay. But
Mhm.
I'm feeling it's been a few days since I've seen the movie, I'll be honest, so probably not going to hit these plot points in order. But this movie takes place in 2003, right? This is a very short post 9/11 movie.
Mhm.
This woman, you know, whether it was for the right or wrong reasons, does kidnap 3 children at like the second scene of the movie. She just kidnaps them outright, takes them in a cab that she steals, removes the license plate from the cab, but not the numbers on top of the cab that are a great identifying factor.
Mhm.
Takes these kids to the woods, leaves them there, then takes the cab like a minute later, just plows it through a diner, then takes these kids to a motel, leaves them there, and is like, I'm going to Peru. Takes this license plateless, been through a building cab with identifications of a woman who's known for kidnapping, in a very short post 9/11 world, boards a plane to Peru. Who the fuck sold her a ticket? How did she get through security? Where did she park the car? But just goes to Peru, holds up a photo and is like, oh, it's exactly that place my mother was 20 years ago. Because, you know, walking through the jungle without a guide for your first time ever, you can easily just locate where your mother was by a single photograph. Then the fucking Spider-Men come down from the trees and they're like, we've been waiting for you, come with us. And all they do is push her in a pool where she learns her mother didn't hate her. And they're like, by the way, you have superpowers. That is the definition of you could have said this in an email. And then she comes back with no training, no nothing. She just has full control over her powers now.
This
The
movie-
kids, I am guaranteeing you, they just went to ChatGPT and they were like, "How are teenagers like?" And ChatGPT was like,
So annoying.
"Skateboards, nervous, annoying." But the one kid, the black girl, like first scene of the movie when we get to see her before Cassie actually knows her, she's like skateboarding in front of an ambulance with its lights flashing, and she just stands there and flips it off. Like, who the fuck are you? I don't fucking care if you flip off the cops. Maybe you have issues with them. That's something. Who the fuck flips off an ambulance? They're stopping someone's heart attack. They are actively saving lives. They're not political. Like, who fucking stands in front of an ambulance and flips them off? And then at the end of the movie, okay, we get all the way to the end. We save the day after stealing an ambulance and blowing up a medevac helicopter. That's just, we're never charged for any of this. Then the woman alleged to have kidnapped these 3 children and blow up a helicopter and steal an ambulance is in the hospital with the 3 kids she's alleged to have kidnapped. Fucking nurse walks in and she's like, who are you? And she's like, they're mine. They are my children. Leave my children with me. and that's fine, and she gets to keep these kids, despite one of them actually having parents, another one actually having a dad she currently lives with. And it's not like the third one was abandoned. Her father got deported. You don't think he's in Mexico trying to find a way back to her? No, we're just fuck your families. They don't exist anymore. You have such Stockholm syndrome. You're living with the woman who kidnapped you and then blew up a helicopter.
No, but she's
So
cool.
Pepsi was everywhere.
Somehow, John, you picked the most redeemable of the logic issues of this movie to hit on right there.
None
So-
of that is redeemable. In my
No, it
eyes. How the
absolutely
fuck
is.
Did she get
Compared
to
to-
Peru?
Hold on.
No,
I'm gonna go through this one by
wait,
one
no,
because
all right,
because
all right.
Do the
what
Peru thing. It's post
No.
9/11. You just
No,
took
no, no,
your
no.
stolen car
It's
to
2
the
years
airport,
after.
boarded
It's
a
2
plane.
years after.
Yeah,
on.
you couldn't pull that shit
Let me-
20 years after.
let me make my
Just
points.
fly to Peru.
Okay, on the Peru stuff. One, I mean, the only non-redeeming part of the logic there is this movie tries to have it both ways of saying there is a surveillance state in 2003, which to my knowledge was not a thing. So, I mean, it's starting to ramp up because of the Patriot Act in 2001 and all of that, but functionally doesn't exist in 2003. And this movie wants to tell you that it does. So if you're, playing the field of the real world, she definitely could have got on that plane, no problem, because they didn't know her name. They didn't know anything about her other than a
She
general
drove a
idea of
Cab
they
without
do not know that
license
she
plates.
stole that. They never once say that they know that she stole that cab. It's never spoken in this movie. So you're
cabbie just
inferring
doesn't
that.
report it. No, he just doesn't report
No.
it stolen. He's like, fuck.
He can
there
report it
goes my
stolen, but he
afternoon.
never saw her. She took it while he was getting money from the other lady, so he never saw her face to report who it was that stole it.
But you're telling me she could just park it, and they don't have no cameras in the parking
No.
lot, no nothing. No
That's
one
not what I'm
suspects
saying.
there's this cab, and maybe we should just not let this person fly who got out of this cab.
That's not what I'm saying, but there's not people just sitting there watching that all the time. That's what I'm saying. Two,
Also,
when it
go
comes
steal a
to
cab and go to the airport, see what happens.
it's 2024. We live in an entirely different world, John.
This is immediately post 9/11 when everyone was super paranoid about flying.
I
You
agree.
can't just walk in
Paranoid.
there.
She didn't have a criminal record yet. She wasn't
I know.
arrested or charged with anything.
She is an active suspect in kidnapping, and she's identified on the radio.
No. They do not identify her by
identify
name.
her. They don't.
They only have a description.
hmm
Okay, so they have a woman matching the description with the stolen vehicle in question, trying to flee the country the
We're
day of a
looking
kidnapping.
For a woman with long brunette hair, she's Caucasian and has blue eyes. That could literally be 50 million women, dude.
The stolen cab. I'm not saying you arrest every
They
Karen
don't
at
know
the
that she
airport.
stole a cab. We established
It
this
has
point.
no license plates, and it looks like it just ran through the wall of a diner. I refuse to give this up. Like, there's no way
You're
you
just
can
wrong. But
drive
anyway,
back to the
moving
airport
on.
and get the
Point
plane.
two.
It's impossible.
She doesn't have to find anything in Peru because she has an entire notebook of her mother's entire journey. So it has nothing to do with needing a guide.
no.
She already has it in front of her.
No. The jungle does not just maintain its pathways for 20 years. That shit changes constantly. You have a guide because you cannot just walk through the jungle. There's no left turn at this tree, right turn at that tree. Like, it is a constantly changing landscape. Go walk through the jungle. You will just fucking die without a guide.
Okay,
I don't
well, we
care if your mother wrote
established
down this tree is here.
I didn't say she wrote that down, first of all. I never said that. I'm not saying that she wrote a step-by-step, this is the treasure map to the magical spider, but
Okay,
she
so
can
just
get her into
happens
the
to
right
stumble
direction.
upon exactly the location.
No. She happened to stumble on part of the location, a river, which is very identifiable. That's why they used that specific
No,
photo.
They didn't just find a river. They found the tree there. They found the rock there. She stumbled to exactly where that photo was taken.
She saw that
suspension of
tree-
disbelief says
she
you
saw that
cannot
tree in
just
a
walk
vision.
through the jungle and find a place your mother happened to be 20 years ago. I
Again, she-
don't buy it.
She saw the tree in a vision, but I'm not listen, I'm not saying that any of these are not logical leaps. They all are, but these are the softest ones. The one that I think I'm surprised you didn't talk about is, and when they have the scene with the fireworks building
actually,
the first
no, I
time.
did mean to mention this.
And she's
Yeah,
the
oh, wait.
only nurse not wearing gloves so that her hands can get covered in blood for the effect.
So one sec, I want to add one more thing to my rant for before. While we're blowing up the helicopter, stealing an ambulance, she also blew up that building. She planted explosives and detonated the building. Like she is
Well,
just an
okay.
active terrorist at this point.
Because here's my point on that too. Because that's a Pepsi factory. Like you see the sign. That's what crushes Ezekiel, right? And they
Yeah.
even deemed that building unsafe, structurally unsound. There are so many explosives in here. This building could fall down
For
at any
sure.
second, and they didn't touch it. So this
No,
Pepsi
we
factory full of
mentioned it
fireworks.
way before.
No,
They knew
no.
it was there. They're just like, yeah, somebody should do something about that.
Yeah, we should
Not
really
me
fix
though.
that.
Eh,
And then like a week later, a trip to Peru later. Fucking A.
No,
Yeah,
okay,
that is
no,
bad
but
logic,
back
for
on
sure.
the opening scene, we're at the Pepsi factory, and there's like all the dying people and whatnot. She's doing CPR on that guy, and
No,
Ben
she's
is like,
just
"We
pressing
need
his
you.
chest. That's all
We
she's
need
doing.
you. We need you in triage over here." And then the other guy's like, "Hey, you're with me over this way." And she just looks at the guy she's doing the chest compressions to. She's
And he
like,
comes
"You're
back to
gonna be
life.
okay. I gotta
She's
go."
like-
No, no. What? Chest
No, the best part
compressions
about that-
for?
the
He's
best part
just
about that-
okay.
Yep.
The best
He just
part
comes
about
back.
that was she looks down and was like, "You're gonna be okay," and he looks up at her and he's like, "Yeah," gives her the thumbs up. "I'm good now, thank you, miracle lady." It's
Like,
so
just-
funny.
What? No, you do not just leave mid chest compressions. Like, I hope it's better. I
That's all
hope
she did
that's
for
what
like
it
2
needed.
minutes. To say she
Oh
did
my
CPR
god,
is
I
such a
hated that
stretch.
scene.
That bugged the shit out.
That is not how any of that would happen.
No, there's so many like I said, there's so many logical issues. I just think it's funny
And then
that
you're right.
the ones that you
gloves,
talk
too.
about are
Mhm.
somewhat redeeming. Is the only funny part about that.
I
think-
disagree with that stance entirely.
One of my favorite bad things that happen in this movie is the non-subtle, like, "Hey, Peter Parker, hey,
Right.
Uncle
Okay, so-
Ben, hey."
Quick jab at my wife. She did not know that was Peter Parker the entire time.
They wanted it to
It
be
was
that
just
big
like-
reveal.
I
It
couldn't
wasn't a big
believe.
reveal. It was very obvious from
No,
day
yeah.
one.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm saying it really felt like they wanted it to be that, but obviously everyone knows who Spider-Man is, so everyone knows who Ben Parker is, so we're all
Well-
rolling our eyes when he's
Okay.
like, "It's me," and we're like,
And the issue is
"Okay."
that the real issue is that the writing's not subtle. Like there's no part of
It's
this like
not.
so much of
Nope.
this movie and the way that the story happens is someone just says what's happening. Like
Mhm.
like in the very beginning when the villain just literally says his entire plot line to the
And then
NSA
kills
lady
a
in
government
bed.
agent. Kills a government agent. Like, just, he said, "I can't let these teenage girls kill me in the future." Just X's a Fed. Like, no one's coming after you. Nobody fucking cares that you've infiltrated the NSA. I love his line, by the way, of like, "I stole this equipment for you to use. Now use it better." Oh my god, please be villain.
It
I
was
love that
his
he just had that woman there. She's just like, "I'm trying to
No.
find him." He's like, "Try fight harder." And she
So
was just
on
like-
that woman, like the first time we see her, she's like, "I can track anybody with the this and the that." And he's like, "Find these girls." And she finds them. He's like, "I'm going to go kill these teenage girls." And she's like, "You're going to kill teenagers?" End of the movie. He's like, "Turn every light in the city of New York to green." And she's just like, "Okay," presses the button. How many people died? The teenage girls all got away, but how many other just innocent people's lives were ended because of you?
Mhm. Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Okay,
I-
and 1 minute while I'm on this with the fucking bad guy. His initial plan to murder the teenage girls: walk onto a train in broad daylight without your mask and just execute him on a train.
Yeah.
She has a vision of him doing that and is like, "Girls, get off the train." And they're like, "Okay, why not?"
Well,
And
the
then he
weird
puts on
thing
his
is-
mask.
Yeah,
He
there's
was
like
just
he does
gonna
it
kill him.
twice. In two different visions. In one vision he does have his gear on and in another he doesn't.
In some reality, his plan was just walk on the train,
for
commit
sure.
murder in broad daylight, walk off the train after you have also killed a Fed.
How
And
about
I
his,
hate the twist.
poor
about,
wig
"Oh,
in the
you were
in his flash
actually
forward.
supposed to be like running from me, not the teenagers, and you've
That
become
was-
your own undoing." Like,
that-
oh wow, fucking really? Cool. Didn't see that one
wanna-
coming.
I want to quick go back to that flash forward scene where
Okay, yeah.
because like he's his hair's all white and gray and he's in like bare feet and stuff, And it's like, man, you're really trying to make me be like, oh, that's how he looks in the comics. You did it, Sony. Good job. And then they never explain why he's not wearing socks or shoes. And then he's just dead. And it's like, all right. Okay.
I think that's one of the structural issues that this movie has, outside of the logic errors and the premonition not being that interesting, is almost so much of the advertising for this movie shows the three teenagers in their suits, and we never see them in them other than
Not
in a
outside of the
flash forward that never happens. And you're like,
Yeah.
I get it. This movie is, called Madam Web and it's about her, but like they open the movie with the three of them doing their powers, and then we're like, never see it. And
Okay, so
this puts together, Patrick, what I was saying to you about that quote from Sydney Sweeney, where she's like, she says,
yeah.
"Oh yeah, I saw that one comic. I saw one comic book page in which my character was hanging upside down, and I really wanted to do that." And then I made the point of like, I think it would be hilarious if she just saw that one page, and then I was like, "Oh, it's actually that. I was on the right track." But it's
Yeah.
really, they were like, "You have one scene. Figure out what you want to do in this one scene." And she was like, "I want to do that." And I'm like, unfortunately, we got these teenagers are really annoying, and I didn't get any of these teenagers do awesome action scenes, which was like decent in this movie, other than the final scene, which sucked. The final scene was truly horrendous in my book.
Truly awful.
But the scenes where they fight before that are actually like well shot and decently fun to watch.
Okay, so we have the scene in the forest, okay, and she, takes her kidnapped victims to the middle of nowhere and is like, stay here and wait for me. And they're just like, yeah, cool, we trust you. And then like 10 minutes later, they're like, fuck that, let's go to the diner. And then bad shit happens. So she takes them to a motel. And she's like, guys, can't be fucking around anymore. And then she calls Ben, who is now an accomplice to kidnapping, and she's just like, I need you to take my victims to your house while I flee the country. And Ben's just like, cool, why not? And they're hanging out at his house, not laying low at all, just being trash-ass teenagers, making a mess everywhere and making noise, despite them actively being hunted and this being no time to relax. Then, I fucking forget her name, Peter Parker's mom goes into
Emma
labor.
Roberts.
Mary Parker.
Correct. Anywho, she goes into labor, and despite it not making any sense, the kids all go to the hospital with her. We're all being hunted by a man who can find our faces anywhere and keep showing up where we least expect him.
Well, they don't know
Why
that.
wouldn't you just lay low? But what reason do they have to leave the house and go to a hospital other than now the bad guys after them and there's a chase scene kind of?
Well,
There
I
is
mean, you
no
could
reason
argue,
for them to leave that
and
house.
again, I'm not going to say this is good storytelling, but you could argue that she left them alone in the woods. They didn't listen, and so therefore they can't be left alone anymore.
It's me yelling at teenagers and not so much the movie. But my God, these teenagers were just annoying and incompetent
Oh,
and
big time.
nothing but a
Yeah.
burden the entire
Their
movie. There was no
characterization
charming
is
character.
terrible.
There was no
Absolutely.
good interactions. There was no good chemistry. There was no good reveals about like, oh, I wonder why this girl won't let the landlord into her apartment, or oh, this or the dad seems to not want her with his new family. Like I wasn't clamoring for these reveals about they all have tragic childhoods. It's pretty fucking obvious she just keeps the kids at the end of the movie because it's finders keepers. You can just call dibs on kids anymore.
Okay,
I think
but
that
like, I
one
did
of-
laugh when they started dancing on the tables.
I thought that was, listen, you were towing a line there, because I mean they're underage kids and you have them
Yes.
dancing
Oh,
on a
for
table.
real.
You're
Yeah,
really pushing.
we
I was
just-
like,
They
I
were
know
really
that
like,
the
"Let's do
actors are,
sexy."
yeah, like the actors are in their 20s, but they're
Yeah.
portraying kids, and you had them dance with a bunch of
Also,
men
name
around
one
her.
fucking teenager who's her entire life like pushing her glasses up and very timid and okay, dad, you don't want me at the hospital after my mom got pancaked by a truck. I'm just gonna head back to your house,
Stepmom.
I guess. Yeah, stepmom, you are correct. But
Mhm.
name one kid who's like that, and then just later that same day goes to tying her shirt
Same
in a
day.
knot, dancing to Toxic on the tables. She was even like, I don't want to tie my shirt. That's not my style. 2 minutes later, full blown stripper.
Mhm. Mhm.
Name
do
one
think-
kid.
It's real bad.
For as much as they made annoying ass teenagers, they did not write them consistently.
Which is a big problem given that this movie, in theory, is supposed to spawn movies for these characters, and
Mhm.
the characters suck. Like
The characters suck.
they don't have good characterization. They don't like
Oh.
there's nothing interesting that they bring up about the kids other than like you have a backstory that's tragic. There's no like intriguing piece that you're like, I want to understand the story of this
Nope.
girl and how she becomes, other than you're like, they have superpowers. And
So
so
one's good at math. One of them has a skateboard.
which is not good. Like that doesn't make you want to see a movie about them. So
Oh,
like,
that makes me
it's-
want to punch him in the face.
even
Yeah.
even in terms of like we're gonna set up 3 more movies or 4 more movies if you want to include Madam Web 2, it's like I don't want to see these characters again.
Oh,
No, they're
but
truly
what? Just,
truly not good.
there's no character development. The only character development that happens is, oh, it's this scene, and we need you to be friends now, or good at your powers now, or understand who the villain is now. That's it. Just these things happen because that is what the scene says happens. But you did not earn any of this.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, there's definitely
Scene.
development, but none of it's earned.
It's
Well,
literally just, well, this
it's-
is
It's not earned because the writing is just like it has now happened. Like
Yeah.
the scene where they learn that the skateboarding chick has rich parents. They just have this whole thing where she's like she's mean all the time and hates everyone, and then all of a sudden she's just like, I'm mean because of this, and just says it outright. Like it's not earned in some way of like they have a mea culpa over like something that
Mhm.
happens or anything
no,
like that. There's
it's just,
all of
I
the
am rich and
development
this
is just
why.
like, or like, you know, Dakota Johnson where she's like talking to her cat out loud, and that's
That's
her
it's gotta stick
development.
together.
Yeah. And you're just
No,
like,
dude.
however, I will give the funniest scene in this entire movie is when she's like, how do you know if you can climb a wall if you don't try?
God.
That was fucking hilarious. I died
No, that
laughing
was
at that.
bad.
That was
That was
fucking
Hands
really
funny.
down,
bad.
I got to agree with Patrick on this one.
That was
Best
so
line
funny.
in the entire movie is at the end. The best part about the future is it hasn't happened yet. It's literally the only fucking part about the future.
I was like, that's what you're ending this on? That's your crescendo?
That's the whole big profound
God.
thing you have to say.
My literal
Yeah.
thought when they said that was the future of this series is not going to happen. So
Oh no.
No.
No, they'll get like another movie because they could probably squeeze a few more hate dollars out of this, but this is not the birth of a franchise.
Right now, if you're curious, box office on Wikipedia states at 51.5 million with a budget of 80 million, and that's not counting the marketing budget. So
Oh
this is bomb
no.
for sure.
It's a bomb and a half.
Mm-hmm.
how do
It's
you
Like,
guys
it's not
feel?
getting good reviews. People are only seeing it to hate watch it, which is great.
Sure.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the suits. So
Okay.
the 3 teenagers, I think their suits are good.
Mhm.
And especially in comparison to the rest of the suits. But like the
Yeah.
ones that you see the least are good. This Peruvian Spider-Man, truly horrendous. Hated everything about the suits that they were wearing.
Now,
Don't know what the
Yeah.
fuck that was. But
yeah, go for it.
the cherry on top is how horrendous Dakota Johnson's Madam Web glasses are.
Oh my
You-
god, thank you.
Literally the biggest glasses, like take up 2/3 of her
Comically
face
large.
sized glasses. You're just like, this is such a ridiculous look. And I couldn't handle it. Like they just not good. And the villain suit I would give mid. It's dark Spider-Man, so like fair enough. You did that.
No, I think the suits were like competent, but nothing fantastic. There's none where I was like, that's a cool design. It's just like, oh yeah, that's a superhero outfit. But you're right, those glasses are just ridiculous.
Dude, I couldn't handle it when she brought those out. I was
It's
like, this is
fucking stupid.
so absurd. I
It's-
can't believe you
the
put
amount
this
of
on a
times
screen.
they had to like name drop. I'm blind now. I'm blind now. Did you know I can't see anymore?
Firework hit her in the face underwater, and now she's blind.
Yep.
Okay,
That's
I'll
how-
never
quick
get over
that's
shout,
that.
quick shout out to the opening scene of the movie with her pregnant mother in the woods, because I'm looking at her and I'm like, wow, you're very pregnant to be in the jungle. And then she's like, oh, my stomach hurts. She just won't let me do this, and like flips back her shirt to reveal she's pregnant.
Like,
I'm like,
9
was
months
this a
pregnant.
secret? Was this a big reveal that she's pregnant? She's very obviously pregnant, and I didn't need it explained to me how pregnant she is because she's 8 months pregnant or 9, whatever it was.
So yeah, I'm with both y'all. I think most of the suits were fine. Obviously
Yeah,
Madame
I
Web's
segued
awful.
Oh, God.
The Los Arañas
From now
were
on, I'm gonna call her Oracle Web because that scene at the end when
Or-
she's displayed is
Uh-huh.
literally just Oracle but blind.
it's something else, but like the Arañas, I do want to give a shout out to those because like yeah, they're pretty bad, but I
I
did
hate
like the use of like the netting slash vines or whatever to like kind of emulate the Spider-Man costume. I appreciated
In theory, I can get where they're coming from, but it just didn't work
Yeah,
when
no,
I
it's
looked
the
at it. I was like,
execution that falls
yeah, I
apart.
was like,
Right. Right.
what are these? Like, I get that you're going for webs, but I'm looking at it like, why is this something that this dude is wearing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I didn't like that, but every other one was fine. I think the only other one I didn't love, other than Sydney Sweeney's, or not Sydney Sweeney's, hers was perfect, was Ezekiel Sims. Did not love his costume. Just looked weird.
Yeah, it's
Looked
just
off.
fine. I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion, especially when you compare it to the others. It's like whatever. I don't know.
It does
So-
not. Yeah.
Was anybody else waiting for Ben Parker to die?
No.
No.
Really? You didn't
We're
see
like-
Uncle Ben and see that one coming?
It was like 15 years before.
he's not
he
Uncle Ben
becomes
yet.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair, but I just figured this is a universe where Peter doesn't happen and we get these bitches instead.
Well, because
Well-
here's where I thought was going to happen with Ben was that a lot of the leaks were like, oh, Adam Scott's playing Ben Parker. And like, shout out to Adam Scott. He's trying his hardest, but man, that script is not doing him any service.
No.
No, like he
Um,
tried.
But I
He's
thought the plot was
okay.
going to be
Which is
Like, he's-
interesting.
He's the best part of the movie, and he does so by hitting okay.
Yeah, the
Right,
crazy thing
exactly.
is there's all these people like that have a name. I'm not gonna say they're like A-list actors, but I mean you got Sydney Sweeney, Emma Roberts,
Emma Roberts.
Adam Scott, Dakota Johnson. Like you have
Mike Epps,
people that like Mike Epps, like people that, you know, have done things, and then you're just like, man, none of you guys did anything. Like this
we all
is
came to play.
bad. Yeah.
It's truly bad. Sorry, I'm all over the place now. I keep
But,
thinking
like-
about that scene with the truck, with when Mike Epps gets hit by a truck and dies.
Why is
That
there
was such an awful shot. It just happens in the background. You're like, oh.
And then fucking
Why
Ben
is there a
comes over,
gravel
Adam
truck
Scott,
there?
and he's just like, it's okay. There's nothing you can do. Like he's just fine watching his boss die. He's an emotional zombie. He
Mhm.
really doesn't care.
Oh my god. It
How
How
was-
about the forced with great power comes great responsibility line in this movie?
It was a dumb
From
line.
it was so dumb, dude. I
was a dumb
couldn't.
line.
The fact that Sony has to do it every time has to be a meme. Like at this point, they are just memeing, trying to like word salad their way around not saying it, but getting it in every movie.
The way it's
So-
phrased was so dumb. It was like, when you have great responsibility, good
when
power
you-
will come too.
It's something like when you gain power, you something about responsibility or something like that, and you're like, just
Huh?
stop.
Yeah.
You can tell how good
Just-
of a line it is because we remember it.
Not like
It
that
was so
banger of the
dumb.
future line.
I'm sad that they didn't make young Uncle Ben just say it. Like, just say a different version of a line he's gonna say later.
Now, I do want to give I want to give one positive mark for this movie. I did like that bit when they're in the hospital and they're talking about how Mary had her kid, and they're not saying the name because they're like, "Ooh, who is it?" But they're like, you know, they're talking about how Ben is just thrilled and he's, you know, all the fun, none of the responsibility. And then Dakota has that one line. It's like, oh, it's something like along the lines of, "Oh, in time he'll learn," or something like that. And it wasn't fantastic by any means. It was very much like, "Oh, we get it. You're teasing whatever." But it was like, "Oh, that was kind of neat. That was kind of cute."
How
I'll let you
about
have that
how about the not willing to say Aunt May? Like, oh, I met someone, but I'm not gonna
Well,
say her name.
Yeah, I thought that was weird too.
It was a
Like,
combo
am
of
I
that.
not supposed to? You very blatantly call him Ben Parker on multiple occasions in the
Mhm.
Spider-Man universe.
Well, it was that, and they're definitely trying to like make you think, hey, this could be the MCU with Tom Holland and Marissa Tomei. It could be. The timelines line up. You never see Aunt May, so maybe it's her. So, but
True.
why
I
they
didn't
never
really
say
think
her
about
name is
that part of it,
ridiculous.
but
Well, I was trying to think of the timelines. It's like I think 2003. I think Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, but it's like no, that's clearly not what they're going for here.
But
So
it should be.
it should have been that. Well,
Bring
I don't
back
know.
Tobey Maguire
Again,
exclusively again.
well, you might just have your wish.
No, like this is it's a bad movie, but it's
Bad.
so bad it's laughably like it's.
I don't even
fun
know if
to
it's fun.
watch. Just
I honestly don't.
no, I had such a
I
fun
had
time
fun.
because I'm just like this is genuinely stupid. Like they tried. It's not they made a bad movie. It's they tried to make a really good movie and just fell so short.
Oh.
It's the equivalent of like running in the Olympics and tripping on your shoelaces. Like it's just funny how bad this is.
I think
Yeah.
it's I don't
I don't
like
know about
to me it wasn't funny because I thought that I cringed so many times and like you said sensory issues with the flashback stuff early on.
Oh yeah, no,
that I
like that
couldn't-
stuff really
like,
annoyed. Don't get me wrong.
I didn't like it. I didn't have fun with it. I couldn't like laugh
I
at the
won't be watching
stupidity
it
of
again.
it.
Don't get me wrong.
I laughed a lot. Like there was a stretch of time, like towards the middle third, where I'm like, "This is boring." I'm starting to yawn, and then everything happens in the climax, and it's like, "What are we doing?"
Like
This is
I want to
bizarre.
say we compare it right to other like 2000s superhero movies. Like I want to say
Mhm.
that, you know, Fantastic Four from 05 is not a
Oh.
good movie. But
Yeah.
it has gotten better over time when you get away from it because it's like bad in funny ways. Like some of the shit is so ridiculous, but it like when you look back on it, it's like really funny. And I don't think the same thing will be true with Madam Web. I think it's bad in
No.
Bad's way. And so like even 10 years from now, we're not gonna look back and be like, oh, that like, you know, our opinion's not gonna change to be slightly favorable to it in that it's like charming in a bad way.
I'm
Okay,
gonna
so
push back a little bit. I actually do like that Fantastic Four movie from like 20 years ago.
incorrect, false, and wrong.
I think it's
Second one's
bad,
bad.
but like I
Second one's
said, I think
bad.
there's redeemable qualities to it in terms of like some of the jokes and stuff that you can be like, yeah, that's kind of funny, and you know, like it's lighthearted. I don't
Mhm.
think it works the same way here.
Second one's bad. Turning Galactus into a cloud. Come on.
I don't even remember anything about that one.
Okay, so let's go back to the diner scene. The three girls who are at this point kidnapping victims walk
cherry
into the
pie.
diner. Random trucker, you know, picks up the newspaper, sees them on the cover. He's like, "Oh, those are the kidnapping victims." Rightfully calls the police.
Mhm.
Doctor
Great
Bad Guy intercepts the phone call, knows where the girls are, just like uses his hacker technology to call in as the police. He's like, "I'm this car. They are not who we are looking for." And the woman on the other end is just like, "Okay, voice I don't recognize on car that doesn't exist. You got it. We won't investigate any further."
They do that
They
twice.
just-
Because
do
then they
that
do it again.
twice.
They do it again with the paramedics
True.
when she steals the ambulance and then just calls it in
Yes.
on the ambulance. And they're like, they don't question who
Yeah,
she
they're
is
just
or
like
what
med
car she is.
helicopter at the Pepsi building where nothing's happening. See you there.
They're just like, go there. She's like, all right, boom, bet.
What I love about that is after the helicopter blows up, like that's just no longer the evac plan. We did not need to call in a helicopter. There is no reason for it to be there. It shows up, does nothing, and is inconsequential. Aside from we've blown it up.
And she has the whole premonition about it, which is why she makes them go there.
Yes. No, they go to the top because she's like, this is all part of the plan. What fucking plan? Did you plan on going blind? Did you plan on dying in the ocean? The CPR scene at the end, where in the
I
hospital,
liked
they're
it.
like, let's learn how to take turns doing CPR. I wonder if this will come back up later, is we all have to do CPR. I wanted to punch each and every one of them in the face.
I think it
Yeah,
works.
absolutely.
It didn't. It was too heavy-handed. It was like there's.
But it
that
actually,
thing,
the thing that,
a lot
so
of
if
movies
they,
do it, like
if they had
Rocking the
just been
Cradle, I
like,
think it's called, where someone teaches them something they use later, but they just like blatantly shot for shot recreated the scene.
well, that's, I mean, that's a iconic, I don't know if you want to call it trope, but function of movies called Chekhov's gun
Storytelling
works.
technique. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
of-
that's
pretty
not
common.
just Chekhov's gun. It's called Rocking the Cradle. Chekhov's gun is similar. I guess
It's the same,
debatably
just a different way to call it.
overlapping here.
But the reason I think it
an art
works.
to establishing we need to learn how to do this, and we do it later in the movie. That's a thing. I get that. But this movie, it was just like very obviously, oh, we forgot to do that earlier. Teach the kids how to do CPR. We're gonna need that in a half an hour.
I don't agree to that because the way that they set it up is that the villain, whatever his name is, I can't fucking remember because he's bad, touches Madam Web's arm and she starts to have neurological issues because of the poison.
Yes.
And then they
Yes.
use that to say, hey, if you get
Yes.
touched by him, this is how you do CPR to bring someone back.
Yes.
So they
No,
build
I'm not
logic.
saying they don't. I'm not saying they don't teach it for no like they. You're right. They have a reason to learn CPR. What I didn't like was the fact that we have to have the scene where we're learning not just how to do it, but how to take turns doing it and how to pass it off. And then when the time comes, we're just okay, girls. We know what we're doing. It didn't feel like it came naturally. It felt like it only existed to pay off later. It didn't feel like how do I'm not saying this properly. It didn't feel earned. It felt like yes, this is why we need to learn it, and we have to use it because we learned it earlier. And if we don't use it, then we look stupid.
They do
Like,
that a
it
lot
only
this
paid
movie.
off because they said the setup makes sense. The payoff is bullshit.
Remember
I
when
mean,
he touches her and her hand is like in pain, and then they just never go back to that?
It just goes away.
Yeah, she's fine.
My favorite is that there's no like effect. There's an effect in the moment, and then she's
Yep.
just like, I'm wiggling my hand, and I'm in pain.
They're like, "Is your hand okay?" And she's like, "Nah, it's fine."
I just have a twitch.
Honestly, why didn't he just like get one good punch in her face, and that's what makes her go? Not a firework underwater. You had
Yeah, that would
so
make more
much
sense.
to work with. And then it's not just makes more sense. It's not just random chance. The villain has wounded her permanently.
Oh, there's
No.
so much of that where the villain is like, I'm trying to kill these kids, but then I have the opportunity to kill them, and I do it slowly instead of
Yeah.
just killing
Yeah.
them. And you're like,
not just that. His whole fucking plan is I'm the superhuman. I went to the jungle and I stole the precious spider, and I've got superhuman powers, and I'm gonna kill these teenagers. Can't fucking kill 3 kids,
He's
no matter how hard he
yeah.
tries. And then the Andy's Spider Boys or whatever they're called, their whole thing of like, oh, he stole the spider, so he's cursed. What is his curse? Teenagers? That's just parenthood.
his curse is
there are
death
3
70
girls
years
that
from
if
now.
you go out of your way
Yep.
to kill, will kill you someday.
Everyone's got to die at some point.
Here's the thing: they weren't the ones he had to worry about.
Yeah,
They
but
were
in
shut
his
the
fuck
fucking
up.
premonition, he's like 80 years old. You know,
Yeah.
he's got the white
He lived
hair
a full
going on.
life.
He lived a full fucking
Yeah.
life as a billionaire. And
Doing
one
what,
day,
though?
eventually, he will be stopped. Oh no! Is that his curse? Is he gets
Such
away
a
with
tough
it for
life
his
for my boy.
entire life?
Like, also, like, can we come up with a better name for the Uranias? Like, that's just Spanish for spider. Like, we can do better than that.
Also, just again, despite his premonition being that he's going to be killed by team, stealing NSA equipment and killing federal agents, criminal who deserved to be killed before all of this. It's
Honestly,
not even like he's a sympathetic villain.
look, he's a villain,
Not
so
in
this
this one.
doesn't really work.
I came
However,
from nothing, less than nothing.
the
Okay,
funny
how do
thing
we
is
know that?
it's
You just said
basically
it.
like it's basically a crucible for him, and it's like it forms him into like a well-functioning person who becomes rich. So like if anything, the curse is it gave him a purpose to be really good in life at something. Like it didn't even curse him. It's just like you're going to become a billionaire and be really strong and do lots of things and then die when you're 80 years old.
Is that what happened to Steve
That's-
Jobs?
Like
Sure.
that sounds like everyone that sounds like a good
feel
thing.
like
if he's
that
not a
is
villain,
exactly Jeff
that could be
Bezos.
a biography for like one of the best people to ever live
Bezos.
if you wanted it to be.
I discovered myself in the jungle and came back a billionaire. Yep.
Exactly. I
I'm
came
so
from nothing,
sorry.
and then I went
Can
through
I
a crucible
help
in the
you?
jungle, and now I'm back.
No, but he killed a pregnant woman. He committed murder in the jungle multiple times. At what
He
point was I
Had a
supposed to
women
feel
against
sorry
her
for him?
will in his apartment. Can't forget that.
Dude, how about his spider setup with the vines and leafy shit right in the middle of the room? just for
Okay,
this
but, like-
little cutout, like 10 by 10 box that he has the spider in.
Hear me out. That was a really good centerpiece. Great conversation starter. I liked it.
Hey, what's the spider? Oh, that's the spider I got after I killed a pregnant
It's
woman
this
and
red
tried it
spider
from
I take out
dying
and play
hand.
with sometimes. You know, he
He
likes
bit me
crawling
and
on
gave
my
me
fingers.
superpowers you want to see, and then throws you out the window.
Yeah, he's cool
Oh,
though.
man.
He's chill. Don't worry about him. He won't bite you.
This
Probably.
fucking movie.
He did.
Bad.
Another positive mark I want to give this movie. There's this bit where he's chasing the kids and Ben when they're going to the hospital, and there's a shot of him like landing on a building on the window, and you see his reflection, and it pans up, and it's him running across the building. I'm like, that was actually a really cool Spider-Man shot. You
Dude,
you actually got one thing right.
They couldn't decide if they wanted him to be intimidating, a comedic villain, or a sympathetic villain. They tried to do all three in every scene, and it just never landed.
How
Like,
about
They
the
had no
uh,
idea what
to at the
direction
train
he was
station.
going in.
It
how
was
about
cool.
the ambulance through the wall nails him dead on in the fucking cross section, like in the four-way stop? That was incredible.
Only the second time that she hit him with a car in this movie.
Literally
second.
was laughing. It was so
Yeah,
dumb.
also, I love how they
I
couldn't
was-
figure out any other way for her to deal enough damage to stun him temporarily, other than hit him with a.
Yeah.
Just
They don't.
keep hitting him with
The
car.
thing that really bothered me was they didn't even set it up. Like
Not
not
even.
that not that there's a situation where this is good, but if you add a couple of shots to set up her going into the parking garage and coming out to hit him, it would at least track better. Like I probably would have been
No,
like,
it
"This is
just- they
dumb,"
went for
but
kind
wouldn't
of
have laughed
plot twist out of
how bad it
nowhere.
was. Yeah, it didn't.
No,
It was not set up well on that
Nope.
one. And I was like, "This is
this
bad.
movie is laughably bad. That's the only way to describe it, is laughably bad.
Can I give one more shout out to
Shout
the
out.
baby shower? Just everything with the baby
So
shower
awkward.
was just so delightful. Like,
I
hey,
want a
let's
beer. You
play a
can't have a
game.
beer. Have a Pepsi.
And then she just never opens the Pepsi. She just kind of
Never
holds
opens
it.
the Pepsi.
Like she
She does that
plays
twice
it.
with sodas, and you're like, you
Yeah.
don't know how to open a can, do you?
But then she gets roped in, and there's a funny little interaction that she has with Ben, and she's like, "See, I'm getting roped in," and he's like, "I'm sorry," and that got a laugh out of me. But then they play games, all right? And Emma Roberts is like, "Hey, let's play a game. What's your favorite thing your mother ever did?" And she's like, "Oh, she died.
She's dead.
I didn't write anything because she
Yeah,
died."
no,
It's like, you
didn't even
ask for
sit the
what
game
the-
out. Just put nothing in. It was like, she died in childbirth.
You're
Oh,
like
but she
asking
won't.
for
It's
attention. at that point.
likely.
It's
Yeah, no,
because
that was just no, that scene
Yeah.
killed me. It's like, you don't like just. I get being socially unaware sometimes, but you thought it was appropriate to put a blank one in to talk about how your mom died in childbirth. Like,
well, I
fuck
don't think she
you.
meant to do it. She didn't put it in to talk about it, but
Just
it
don't
did
put
cause
anything
that.
in. You had to know if
Yeah.
I'm gonna put somebody's gonna ask, and I could say, "Oh, she died when I was young," or I don't have a mom, something like that. You didn't have to say she died in childbirth.
What
Have
was
fun
the
next
second
week.
game they played? Because there were
Name
like
the
two
baby.
games, and
Name
they,
game.
oh
Name
my
the
god.
baby.
And
Like,
then they
what
never
kind of
said
games are
Peter.
these? What kind of games are these? Like, hey, guess what baby my name my baby is? Like,
My favorite
this
is
is
they
a
didn't even
dumb
say like
fucking
it's
game.
it's a boy or a girl. They're just like, guess a name.
yeah.
And everybody guessed boy names.
Like they start going in a circle, and then Emma Roberts is like, "Let me skip half the circle." Cassie, what do you think my baby's name is gonna be? It's
The
like-
woman who just said my mom died in childbirth. Let's give you another shot to speak.
She's like, "Oh, she looks like she's disassociating again. Let's let her play." Come on, it's so weird.
Oh my god. No.
All right.
I know Emma Roberts is a better actor than that. I know she is.
This all being said, I really did enjoy this. It was a
I did
hate
not.
watch. It was a bad movie, and I hated the sensory scenes. But you get rid of those, and I would gladly watch this just to laugh at how fucking horrible this is.
You will not catch me watching this on my own ever again. I am only
Agreed.
watching this in a group with beers.
Yeah,
That's the
we're
only
gonna
way you
watch
can
it
enjoy this
then.
movie.
Yeah, no, this isn't movie night, but this is, guys, do you want to see a bad movie? You can drink every time she's not drinking a Pepsi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I saw someone compare this and called it the Cats of superhero films, and it's like, no, there are far worse superhero movies than this, but this isn't far
For
off.
sure.
No, this is bottom of the barrel. Any final thoughts?
I
That
can't
guy on
wait
the
for this
train.
to go out. Of our
guy on the-
thoughts. The dude is
guy on
like,
the
"Am I on the right train?"
Okay, no, wait, no.
The
one
first
more
time he
thing,
asked that,
actually.
she's an absolute asshole to him, and then the second time got a laugh, she's like, "Bro, I don't know." It was a good.
Okay,
movie for
so
her.
she's on the train. She's having all these snappy visions, but just assuming we have the power of hindsight here. She's on there and she's like freaking out, like, "What? Have I been here before?" That one lady's like, "Are you okay?"
That was all over.
And
the
she's
place.
just like, "You've already said that." She's like, "Are you on drugs right now?" And then the other guy's like, "Bitches be tripping." He's like, "Crazy people are everywhere." Then like 10
To her
seconds
face.
later, she
Mhm.
stands up and she's just like, "You children, there is a murderer coming for you. Leave the train with me." And she's like, "No, we're pretty sure she's on a lot of drugs." They just let that happen. They don't make any kind of attempt to stop this kidnapping despite suspecting her of being incredibly intoxicated.
I mean, to be
They're
fair,
just
that does
"Okay,
sound like
let
a
her
New
take
York
the
subway.
children."
Like,
Yeah, but
most
you're just
people
gonna let
wouldn't
the
intervene.
kidnapping happen?
Yes, most people would not intervene. Like, that's just real life.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm not
Bystander
saying
effect.
I'd get up and physically stop them, but I'd tell the girls, like, "I think she's on drugs."
It's definitely a bystander effect situation. 100%.
Yeah.
You're,
for
I,
sure.
I don't doubt that. Like, that's a plausible excuse for that scene. And the bystander effect, I don't deny it exists, but I feel like I would at least try and verbally stop a kidnapping if I suspected it to be happening.
Oh.
Anywho, I probably have more issues with this movie, but that's all that's coming to mind at the moment.
We've already talked too much about this bad movie anyway.
For
Yeah,
real, this took
I
so
agree.
much longer than I thought it would. Guys, that's our semi thoughts on Madam Web. Honestly, summer blockbuster, go see it. Best movie of the year.
It's
Award
February.
Especially with Dune 2 coming out in 2
With
weeks.
dude, fuck Dune 2. What is that? A sequel? I need a new series.
Exactly.
Dune.
Guys, that's our thoughts on Madam Web. Don't recommend it unless you just want to have a time watching a bad movie. Like, go with your friends to hate watch it. But for real, don't bother checking
Get this movie
one
money.
out.
Yeah, wait till it's in a
Don't-
streaming
please don't
service
give them
and so you
money.
don't have to pay
And
them.
then pirate it. Yarg. Anywho, guys, if you are enjoying the content, we really appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button down below. Join our subscribing dibblers today. We're going pretty good. We love the community that's coming with it. If you are liking the videos, always helps leaving a like down below. Comment your theory or your thoughts on the movies. Have you seen this one? Did you think it's as bad as we did? Are you some kind of freak who liked it? Let us know. But that's everything we have for you. So we'll see you guys next time. Bye.